St. Clair County RESA presents Dateline Schools, hosted by Terry Harrington.
This week on Dateline Schools, we're visiting Marysville High School as the scene of the 2017 St. Clair County RESA Learning Symposium. And this week on Dateline Schools, had the opportunity of talking with keynote speaker George Couros. Where do you draw your inspiration? How do you get yourself inspired?
I actually, to be honest with you, from teachers, and a lot of teachers I serve and work with through speaking and through these workshops and through these things, I see so many amazing ideas. And a lot of times people think, I'm looking to some amazing person, this one inspiration is like the Tony Robbins type that, inspires me, and that's where I get my inspiration from. But to be honest with you, it's from just teachers doing the job every single day, because there's so much you can learn from them. I just so appreciate not only are they doing amazing work, they're sharing it with others so that we can all benefit from them and learn.
You get to travel around and meet with a lot of teachers and stuff, like you're doing here. What's the one key lesson that George Couros has learned from a child?
From students?
Yeah.
I think it's just to listen to them and just kind of understand who they are. I think that a lot of times we try to mold them into our own childhood, and we want them to have the exact same experiences we did, not necessarily knowing if some of those are good and some of those are bad. But I think just kind of understanding your own child and understanding your students and trying to understand some of the things that are in their generation makes it so much easier to connect. And as you hear in my keynotes, no matter what I talk about, for me, it always comes back to relationships. And relationships are reciprocated. And a lot of times when we talk about relationships, it's about the adult down to the kid, not back and forth. And I think that just kind of having conversations with your kids, understanding them, and you mentioned social media earlier. A great way to connect with your kids, if you don't understand it, ask them, get them to teach you. And once they start seeing you see value in their knowledge, they're more likely to want to share more with you and learn more so they can teach you more. And I think those are great ways to build relationships with your kids.
And as teachers develop this mindset of innovation, how do they know they're successful or not?
I think that it's just kind of seeing what your kids are doing and seeing the results of this. And one of the things I talked about this morning is about the idea of evidence. Not just simply data, because not everything can be quantified into numbers or letters. And for example, we've seen students do portfolios, digital portfolios that show amazing evidence of learning and growth over time. And I think that when you can see the progression, it gives you a better indication, and it tells you much more than any number could have. So one of the examples I always use is that if I have a kid reading in September, October, November, and December, and I have a video sample of each one, I can actually see their growth. Now, I might not be able to give a number, and like what's an A in the U.S. versus Canada at grade 1? Does it look the same? Does it look different? But when I see the progression over time, I think that's where we start seeing the evidence, and I think that's a big thing is that when you can track back your progress through some of these digital means, it does show you growth, which is what I'm really asking for our teachers. I don't really care if every teacher's on Twitter or at a certain point. What I do care about is all of our teachers are growing, and that's the same expectations I have for our students, is that they're continuously developing and growing, and I think that there's no limit to our own growth. There's no stop in learning.
We'll be back with more tomorrow. For Dateline Schools, I'm Terry Harrington.